SABRIC launched its annual crime stats this week, and SABRIC CEO Kalyani Pillay is back in the loft to share what about which modus operandi have increased and how we should be protecting ourselves. Welcome back to the loft.
Thank you, Jeannie.
So these annual crime stats, what were the most significant increases?
Well, we certainly saw very significant increases with regard to card crime. So we had an increase over last year, from comparing it to 2017, of 18.4% on credit card fraud. Even with debit card fraud, we also saw a significant increase of 17.3%. So pretty high figures. And Jeannie, you know, at the end of the day, what's happened is that bank customers have been compromised, their card details have been compromised, and perpetrators have got hold of that information. Now, we've seen also that on the digital platforms, we've seen significant increases there of 75%. So that's been very significant. And what's happened is that perpetrators have gone onto banking apps, they've gone onto mobile apps, they've gone onto online banking, and they've compromised other people's bank accounts by having access to the information that they need in order to use those very digital platforms. Now, I think the important thing is that we've not had a single incident of where the platform was compromised, not at all. Okay. So there's no problem with the banking app, there's no problem with online banking, there's no problem with mobile banking. The problem is that criminals are getting access to your username or your logon details and your password, and they're using that information to go on, use those platforms and purport to be you, and of course do transactions. And we've seen on credit card fraud, the more prevalent modus operandi on credit card fraud was card not present. So again, the same thing about buying online and the like. And with debit cards, we saw the more prevalent modus operandi being around what we call in the category of lost and stolen cards. Now, what that means is that criminals have been stealing bank customers' cards. Now, you think, gosh, how could that actually happen if you're right there? But we've had it at ATMs, and we're seeing it even more. And it's not a new modus operandi. It's been around for a long time. Previously, the criminal would offer assistance, which they still do, offer assistance to people at an ATM, and they would swap the card so quickly in the process of helping you. Now, they're actually just stealing the card. So when they come up to help you, they press the cancel button so quickly, the card ejects without you even realizing it. It goes into their pocket. They stand there and they watch you put in your PIN. And of course, that's what happens. So we definitely have been seeing the fact that criminals are going out of their way to get information through phishing, smishing, vishing, still very, very prevalent. People are just answering the phone and giving away information.
And we speak about it all the time.
They're using social engineering techniques. They're great at understanding human psychology. They're great at knowing what makes people respond in a particular way. They know how to manipulate you emotionally. And that's exactly what they're doing. So if you get a call from somebody saying, look, I'm calling from your bank, and that's what they purport quite often, calling from your bank, we're seeing a transaction that looks like it's suspicious. Are you doing a transaction to pay someone 65,000 rands? And you say, of course it's not. And so you go into a state of absolute panic. And in that process, the person says to you, well, you know, we want to stop this transaction. Please, can I have your username, your PIN number? And the person gives it, thinking that they're talking to somebody legitimate. But I think the important thing is for bank customers to remember, a very simple thing to remember. You never, ever have to ever provide your bank with your username and your password and your PIN number.
No one ever needs your password.
Your bank will never call you. And that's a very important thing about passwords. Passwords need to be difficult for somebody else to guess. It needs to be changed often, and it needs to be a combination of alphabets and small letters and large and numbers and
As complicated as
symbols.
possible.
Yes, absolutely. It's just about the most important thing, I think, that comes out of the release of our stats.
Yeah.
We have had some good results as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if it was all bad news.
No, it's not all bad news. We're very pleased about the fact that we've had a reduction in cash and transit heists. It was really going through the roof last year.
Yeah.
We've had a reduction in physical attacks on our ATMs.
Okay.
We've had a very significant reduction of 33% on what we call follow home robberies. So we've had that as well. So yeah, there's been a number of successes, but I think importantly the fact that with card crime and with digital we've seen all of this. It's just that we say it all the time, but you are your own protection. You've got to make sure that you take this seriously. It's what has to be foremost in your mind now.
Exactly. Thank you so much for being here and educating and letting us know about those stats. Now, I know I certainly don't want to be another statistic, so these type of crimes are the unfortunate truth. Now, if that's not enough, ATM card fraud is on the rise and has become extremely prevalent in South Africa. Join us next week when SABRIC CEO Kalyani Pillay gives us tips on how to avoid becoming a victim of ATM card swapping.
We are brave, innovative, everywhere. We are SABRIC.